Doing a chain stitch on the BERNINA L890 serger is absolutely magical. Now we've already switched over from the overlock side to the cover stitch side. So if you haven't watched that video on all the steps, you can always click right up here and follow that one. But here, let's just do it on screen, and we are currently set up for a wide 3-thread. So if I want to do chain stitch, touch the stitch menu, go to the second folder, and it's the first one. It's a 2-thread chain stitch. Now you can use this for a lot of different applications. It can be like a regular sewing machine. Like if you had to show up at a place that you needed a serger, a cover stitch, and a sewing machine, and you could only take one machine, you're taking this one because it will do all of it. You would use the chain stitch as your traditional straight stitch seaming that you would on the sewing machine. Now, I am going to go to the guided mode so we can just walk through and just make sure that we're doing everything correctly. Lift up the presser foot. We're going to be removing the threads. Unthread the following thread paths if they've still been in the cover stitch mode. We have foot C13 on. That's the narrower one of the 2 feet that came with the machine. All of our settings are really left as they should be. We are using just the right cover stitch needle. So let's just kind of keep going. All these are the normal things that you've disengaged, like the upper looper and the cutting blade. Our rolled hem setting is at O for, well, overlock, just not at R. And then we're actually threading right cover stitch, so the yellow path and then the purple path. So those are actually currently in play. The only thing that I don't need is actually the blue one. That was one of the ones that we could remove back at the beginning. And then I am going to actually take out the needle, the one needle that we are not using. So this might be a little confusing. You see that you're using the right cover stitch needle, so the one in the far right needle position, but you're following a thread path of the yellow one all the way through the machine. So I do need to unthread that and just make sure that I'm where I'm supposed to be, following the right cover stitch needle. To start off, lower the presser foot on your fabric and begin to stitch. Now, a difference between the chain stitch and the cover stitch, with a chain stitch, you can go off the edge of the fabric. So you can come around and almost have that continuous chain. So whatever you have in the needle, that's your top thread. Whatever you have in your cover stitch, that is the lower looper. Well, it's the cover stitch looper, but it's the looper that's engaged. Now, I will confess, the first time I did this, I got some stitches that were skipping. And so I was reminded that I was not using, for the cover stitch, the ELX705 cover stitch needles that came with your machine. So if you have any skipping of stitches in cover stitch or chain stitch, these needles are specifically designed for this technique in mind. There's just something a little different about from when you're serging to cover stitching. Now, I didn't have any trouble when I was cover stitching earlier with my serger needles, but again, depending on my thread combination, my fabrics, if you have skip stitches, that is going to be the thing. You do need to switch back to the actual ELX705 needles. In most sewing machine stores are going to carry these. They aren't always out on the front pegs. That you might have to ask for them. They might be kept in backs just so they're not accidentally picked up for the wrong people and the wrong sergers. So just note that this is a true statement. If you get any skip stitches, the answer is the correct needle. Have fun with your chain stitch. Remember, you can put decorative threads in that cover stitch looper because it can handle like silk ribbon. It can handle woolly nylons. It can handle heavy decorative threads like quilting threads. And you could then stitch upside down because what you see is going to come out on the back side, which will be your top side. So have some fun chain stitching. Try out all the stitches on your beautiful BERNINA L890. Do that stitch book, and before you know it, you're going to be using it every time possible that you sit down to sew.